about what we've talked about during the webinar, but let's get underway. So some quick admin before we kick off. You can ask questions in the chat throughout the whole presentation, and at the end we'll answer every question that's popped in there. So feel free, if you think about something while I'm talking, pop it in the chat and we will revisit it at the end and certainly talk through any questions you might have. My name's Beth Barker. I'm Commercial Officer here at Kuva. And for anybody in the audience who requires an audio description of me, I'm white, I'm in my early 30s and I've got big ginger hair. Who are Kuva? So I'll give you a little bit of a background about who we are and why we're here today, and especially why we're considered experts in the field of privacy for therapists. So at Kuva, we take care of your privacy so you can take care of your business. Now, we received support from Innovate UK to undertake research with legal advice charities, including the Law Society and support through court, to help them learn how to use technology more efficiently and to better achieve their missions using new technologies. And from that, we produced a book, a strategic overview, digital technologies in the access to justice sector. And having carried out this extensive research, we arrived at the conclusion that we had a responsibility to expose, if you will, the risks that we'd uncovered in the advice sector and propose some real solutions. So we went back out into the field over the last couple of years, supported by Innovate UK and the Welsh Government, to work alongside you, alongside counsellors, psychotherapists, to really understand your needs and values. And you, your sector and your colleagues created Kuva. Now, we're a secure integrated communication suite designed from the ground up to provide the functionality a therapist requires without obliging you to compromise on your professional and ethical standards. But first of all, digital privacy. It's very confusing and it's very intimidating a topic. It's a very complex and very fast-moving field. And with new state-of-the-art technology and regulation changes coming month after month, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and helpless. But I promise you're not alone in this. In fact, governments and international regulators are all struggling to keep up. For example, the UK government's facing a backlash for plans to centralise and share NHS patient data. And this is without proper consultation or consent. And European regulators are admitting that GDPR, the world's strictest privacy law, isn't capable of reining in the big tech firms. Now, if this lot aren't staying on top of things, how are you expected to manage? Now, as professionals, you're probably looking to your umbrella bodies for the best advice. So the UKCP, the BPS, the BACP. Most people in this room will have a membership. And one of the reasons you do is to make sure that you are best advised in situations like a pandemic. Am I right? But what's been their response? Now, we'll have a look at this slide on the screen right now. Some of the BACP recommendations are for you, the practitioner, to be checking what the service you're using provides in terms of security. It's on you to keep up with any developments or any new privacy technology that comes onto the market. So it seems that, well, when you're looking for leadership from your professional body, they're looking for leadership from elsewhere. And this is not forthcoming, especially for your clients. We're left with a responsibility vacuum, and this is really dangerous. But please don't panic. This is where we come in and we can help you mind your own business. Now, what we're going to cover this afternoon is what's the appropriate standard of digital privacy for online therapy? What are the obstacles you're facing delivering this standard? What might happen if these standards are not met? And what can we do about it? So let's kick off. What is it that your client expects when you speak with them online? Is it that your conversation will remain just as private and as confidential as it would if it had taken place in your office? Or do they expect that the details of your conversation will be shared and sold to tech companies, data brokers, and digital advertisers? How important is the therapeutic alliance to you if you're willing to keep using proprietary software that you know is not private? What is the impact of being in a therapeutic alliance when you know you aren't doing your best? And how do you feel about not offering the same amount of privacy that you can guarantee in person? The same values you uphold in your in-person practice should also apply online. But of course, this is currently really difficult to achieve. And let's have a look at why it's so difficult to achieve. Now, the internet we all use every day is made up of services offered by a few big tech companies. Who are they? Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Zoom, Facebook. These are the big tech companies that I'm talking about. Now, these are all built on digital surveillance. None of the companies you can see on the screen right now could offer their services without collecting and monetizing your data. This is their business. The tools and products that you use are just there to hook you in. Now, while we use products offered by these companies, they're building profiles they then use to target us. They target us with advertising, social media content, commercials for jobs or housing. They also use it to assess your credit or insurance applications. Now, every single one of us on the call today has been already extensively profiled. Those big tech companies know who you are, who your friends are, who your family is, what your hobbies are, your passions, your tastes, even down to your sexual preferences. Now, our question for today, do we feel okay with adding the fact that our clients have been seeing a therapist to this list? Now, no matter what they say, advertisers and social media companies will target people on the basis of perceived vulnerabilities. Whether this means pushing specific products, social media content designed to exploit a particular emotional reaction, or just selling it to these profiling companies. Now, what does this look like for you in your practice? Now, I'd like to use an example from a therapist in Leeds that we work closely with. Now, they came to us worried that their consultations were being listened into online. They'd recommended a weighted blanket to a client suffering from anxiety and losing sleep. Amazon knew enough about our therapist friend to identify them as a therapist, and plenty of information from their Zoom appointment to identify their client as a client, and quickly spotted a market for themselves to advertise the best weighted blanket for a therapist to then recommend. Now, I bet my own cat that you are thinking right now about a similar experience when you've been advertised a product you could swear you only thought about. And that's because you did. Big tech are advanced enough to predict what you are going to want before you want it. Now, should this include your client's therapeutic record? We think absolutely not. I'd love to take a moment to hear from you guys. If you can pop in the chat what you've been using to communicate online whilst working from home and working remotely with your clients. Is there anybody willing to share whether they use Zoom or Microsoft Teams? Now, I'd like to take a little look at these platforms, look at what those risks are that you're currently facing when you're using these. So when you use these platforms, what's the data that's being collected? They're collecting your video, your audio, and your metadata. And that includes who you're in the conversation with, where they are, and how long they talk to you for. They can see how your clients log in, and they can make use of that. If your client is logging up with Facebook or Google Mail to access a Zoom conversation with you, Google and Facebook know about your meeting. And something else we don't think about too often is what are the third parties that are involved? So for example, outsource the people who create their video link software. So you have another third party risk, another third party who not only can access your video and audio, but can also choose to sell it without your permission. Now, unless you can offer guarantees on all these points, you can't claim your conversations private. Now let's take a quick look at working from home. We've all had to move to remote appointments during the pandemic, and it really doesn't look like things are going to change anytime soon. And in this profession, it's essential to keep professional and personal as separate as possible. Now, if you're using a personal Gmail account for your business, you're giving all your client information to Google. Google use tracking pixels to read your messages. So every word you write and send, or any relevant information that is added to your profile, including personal information of your client. Now, we'll be going into these risks in more detail in a future webinar, so please watch this space. But for now, let's move on and look at what the possible consequences are when you take these risks. Of course, there are grey areas. What constitutes a record? What constitutes informed consent? Now, we expect a legal backlash and stricter regulations in the coming years. It's certainly an area I could talk about all day, but obviously we don't have time to cover it just now. But if there's interest, I'd love to host a future webinar about specifically these grey areas. Of course, as we were mentioning earlier, the damage to the therapeutic alliance. How can you build trust if you can't guarantee privacy? If you can't guarantee privacy, will clients become reluctant to use these online services? And what will this mean for both the profession and the mental health of the public? On the other hand, practitioners who are best equipped to guarantee privacy will be able to keep serving their clients. Now, the situation we've outlined today seems pretty dire. What can we do about it? At Kuva, our job is to help people like you find ways to work online whilst guaranteeing the security of your business and the privacy of your clients. And we do this through a combination of advice, services, and unique software tools. Today, I'll take you through some of the steps you can take to minimise your risks when working from home. Then we'll walk through our video conferencing platform to show you a taste of how it's designed to guarantee that privacy. But here are our 6 top tips for secure remote working. Number 1, separate your work and home digital spaces. This means separate hardware, separate computers, and closing that work computer or work phone out of hours. Secondly, be conscious of your interactions with the big tech companies we've just talked about. Be aware when you're using Facebook or Zoom. If you are using them for free, you will be paying for them with your data. Now, we recommend that you use privacy preserving alternatives. You'll probably have heard of DuckDuckGo as an alternative to Google. Now, they have a browser extension that we would recommend that will protect you against trackers. And of course, be honest. Be honest when you are hosting your clients online about the impact of your platform use on their right to privacy. Be honest about the gaps when using Zoom or Microsoft Teams, that it isn't as private as your real space. And advise your clients how to do it better. It's easy for you to share tips before a session to decrease the amount of data that these companies can leach. For example, don't log into Zoom using your Facebook account. And finally, use us. We're here to help. If we come across a question that we can't answer, we work with your umbrella organisations and policymakers to get one for you. Now, we'll show you what a privacy preserving digital platform actually looks like. Everything we do at Kuva is built on the foundation of our core principles. Now, these were developed through extensive social and technical research and in consultation with practitioners like yourselves. I want to have a quick look at what we've got on the screen right now. So firstly, privacy is not an optional add-on, but the basis of a well-designed digital service. Now, wherever possible, we design our products such that it is impossible for us to collect or access your personal data. And we will never sell or share data with third parties. Unlike other digital providers, we own and operate all these tools in-house, so nothing is exposed to third parties. This is the highest available standard of digital privacy. Most can be done to protect you and your client. When there's no data, there's no data breaches. Now, our platform has been built to deliver these principles. Your client doesn't need to log in or sign up to talk to you. This also means that they don't leave a trace of having used the service by remaining logged in somewhere. Now, not even employees at Kuva can access your information, and that's purely, as we've said, because it doesn't exist. And we don't store any other data about you or your client's visit. There's no locations, no details. It's fully confidential. And the end result is an online space which is as close as possible to the degree of privacy you would expect if you met in your office. Now, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the platform via some images, but I'd love to show you around in real time. So if you would like to hop on a Kuva chat and have a look around the room, please just drop me an email at beth@kuva.org.uk and we'll have a look together. But let's take a quick look today. Now, on the left here, you can see your admin dashboard, which supports integration with your workflow. Now, what we want to do at Kuva is make sure you do as much as of your work in one place as possible, so you minimise that risk of leaking data and client data when you move between platforms that you use in your daily working life. Now, on this dashboard, you can see you've got your appointment calendar, document transfer, video and text chat, and also real-time customer support area where you can reach dedicated help from our team. Let's take a closer look on the right at an appointments calendar. Now, you can see your rooms down the left-hand side, and those are all customizable. They would just read as your Dave's room or orange room, whatever you'd like to call it. You can call them whatever's suitable for your organisation. Across the top, we've got the days of the week, Monday to Sunday, and easy to read time slots. Really easy to make an appointment. Let's take a closer look at what that looks like inside. Now, you've got your timings and a drop-down menu populated by members of your team, so you can assign meetings to other team members if needed. Now, there's a small space here for your client email to send them a direct link to a meeting, and a session URL option so you can share that session URL in other ways if required. And that's it for personal information for your client. Once that's entered into your appointment, the appointment is locked and readable by the user that's been assigned. Nobody else can access that client email, and that's the only client data that goes onto the platform. Now, just on the right is an example of your client's email. This is what they would receive inviting them to an appointment via the platform. Now, these templates are also customizable to your organisation, but that's the only interaction with Kuva your client would receive. Now, if you were customizing it, they wouldn't even know that's a Kuva call. It would be your call, Beth's call if it was mine, for example. Replace Kuva anywhere on that email with Beth. They don't have to know you're using the platform. They just know it's secure. Now, on the left here is a quick look at what our waiting room looks like. Now, waiting room is a feature that we're constantly updating. We aim for a leaflet point and other customizable features in this space that will make it as you would like it for your client. It's a space to ask pre-appointment questions or provide important information pre-appointment to your client. You could have documents that you want them to pre-fill before they enter the space, for example, and instructions on how to do that. And finally, on the right here, a look inside a Kuva chat. That is the room. This is the safe space. It's clean, it's easy, and it's clear. It's a space to make further appointments, send documents, and have text chat if you prefer. Again, I'd love to take you on a journey in real life through there. Please give me a shout if you'd like to have a look at the platform. Now, to sum up all of this, we are here to help you maintain the values of trust and care you uphold in your offline work, in your digital practice. We don't see this tool as a magic bullet. It's all part of the bigger puzzle. Our ethos at Kuva is to work together with our customers to help build the systems you need to deliver your services and embody your values online. Now, to do this, I'd like to hear more about your experiences. So if you feel comfortable, let's have a chat. Now, these are some of the questions I'd like us to have a chat about. So what are your current remote working practices and how did you arrive at them? What are your experiences of remote working? What's gone well and what's been a struggle? What are you most worried about? And what sort of guidance would you like to receive? Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon.